Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Alex Sigrist, and we're back for another Uncut. We're going to be cutting a little bit today because I'm not by myself. I have a friend in the studio. We're going to be talking about a documentary that recently went out. Can you use VR to have another interaction with someone who has passed away? That's the topic. It's going to be interesting. And to do that, I had to bring someone in who has a limited filter, and I thought could really be helpful with that.
Oh, that's why. Okay, I see.
Happy, welcome to the studio. Your studio. It's also his studio.
Our studio.
Our studio.
Our studio.
We're in the podcast booth because this one was a little more serious. This is real, and I don't want any gimmicks. I don't want any fast cuts. I don't want any flashy things popping up. I just want to talk about it. So we're going to talk about this MBC documentary in Korea. It's a VR documentary that's called Noru Manata, I Met You, which is following a woman who lost her daughter 3 years ago to blood cancer. Now they've created this VR environment for her to meet her daughter, and it follows the process of grieving up until this point where she is now going to meet her daughter in VR. And that's what everyone's talking about. Have you seen this yet?
No.
Have you heard of it yet?
I have, because we're in a Hot Talk room, and you guys are like, this just happened, which is why we're doing this video, yeah. But I refuse to watch it.
Okay.
I have my own personal opinions about this kind of entertainment.
Right. Okay, so you refuse to watch it. My first reaction to it was, they use this word kind of liberally when they say like it's sort of like a porn. It's like living vicariously through someone else, and it's not like
Is it tragedy porn?
Kind of. But what was your initial reaction? Why did you not want to watch it?
Well, first of all, when it comes to like national broadcasts, so NBC, SBS, and KBS, everything's so heavily filtered and so heavily scripted or guided in a certain path that you're getting some sort of propaganda, right? Leaning for or against something, right? So there's that. And then this is like, when I heard the premise of this documentary of what was being documented, I was like, guys, it's like, it would be the same thing as if scientists the next day were like, we found a way to resurrect dinosaurs. We've had 4 movies telling us why that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, just hearing the title, it just seems like a horrible idea and profiting off tragedy. Right? We as our societies, modern Western society looks down on that, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, we do have this giant like funeral kind of industry. So we don't, aside from that, but like profiting off people's misery has never been looked on with a good light. So when I heard this, I was like, I'm not going to add my 1,000th of a cent to their views. Yeah. No, not me.
Yeah, I do that too. I don't want this person to be credited with anything. I won't watch that video just because of that. But this one I had to because I think it warranted discussion because the reviews that came out on this one were basically nothing but positive. I've talked to a lot of Koreans, a lot of foreigners, and comments on our Facebook feeds that say how much they cried and how sad they were watching the documentary. And of course, it is probably a very moving, emotional, touching story. And I can't imagine the kind of pain that this woman went through. I mean, the pain of losing a child is something I hope no one, obviously it will happen, but I hope I never have to experience. I hope my friends don't have to experience. And just for the record, whatever this woman did or wanted to do or wanted VR, didn't want VR, as far as I'm concerned, she's innocent because she's the one that went through something that suffered. My kind of cringy feel came from the people who decided to put it on or the people who said, maybe we should offer this woman a chance to do it. And in the reviews, I never found any scientific reassurance that this is going to be safe for her.
Right now, because I haven't watched the video, I have very limited understanding of it. So
with that,
maybe I'm just prejudging too much. So should we?
So we're going to go ahead and cut out for a second so that Happy and I can watch this video, and then we'll come back with our reactions to it. If you haven't seen it yet, the link will be in the description, and we will get it up to you then. But for now, we're going to take a little mini break and be back in a second. Yeah, I think I've seen enough.
That's all kinds of
I've seen enough. Yeah, we're good.
What?
So, initial reaction to what you just saw, what is it?
First of all, I think it's gross. Here's the thing. I don't think our technology is there yet to be able to provide something that's actually remedial. Like if it was Black Mirror level technology where she looked exactly the way she is.
Yeah.
She replied the same as a human being. Even then, there's obviously ethical, things like, what if this person becomes addicted to this AI, basically? But like, I don't want children, so I don't think I have that like emotional connection to having a child. So clearly, I have no idea what this mother has gone through or is going through in this video. I just feel that this is probably hammed up because there's no way. Like, look at that. That is not a human being. That's like uncanny valley,
Right.
That's the uncanny valley. Like, it's an NPC in a horror movie, in a horror game.
I guess the counter argument would be that's the best they could do. They tried their best.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, trying your best doesn't matter. It's
Right.
the end result, right? So it's like, even like, that's why when I was like, there's a little girl there, she was the only one that was honest, I feel. Because she said, 얼굴 다르잖아, which means immediately she pointed out, that's not even her face.
Oh, the one watching it.
Yeah, the
I
little
just
girl
did it
was
again,
like,
yeah.
that's not, her face is different.
Yeah.
So, like, I just feel like all these adults are hamming it up for the camera, first of all. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
emotional scene. I think maybe, for example, the older sister, was probably crying because of the mother.
Oh, absolutely.
Seeing the reaction of the mother rather than, oh, this is my deceased sister.
Right. I think that's almost everyone's reaction. And for the sister, it must have been terrible to see the mother cry. Because I remember at my grandpa's funeral, I didn't cry until my dad cried. And that was just terrible for me. And so here, her watching her mom cry must have been awful. But for the viewers, why were, what is it? It felt like a story. They're crying because of the story that was almost like a Korean drama. Like when the music came on, that was a real big bother for me.
But I mean, the thing that bothers me the most is how, I don't want to say it's fake, but it's fake.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, we'll never find this out, but how much was this family paid for this?
I do not know, but I'm guessing probably not a lot because they put a lot of money. Half the budget went into the production of this VR reality. So it was $100,000, well, $80,000, $85,000, and half of that went into this set. I'm not sure. I don't think they got a lot of money, if any. But you know what hurt me the most? Like, not hurt, but like kind of like, this is terrible. When she went for the hugs.
Yeah.
And was hugging the air.
And like touching her hair and stuff. There is no way that this is immersive. The only thing about this girl that is even remotely real is her voice. Because her facial expression doesn't change. The way she moves is like an NPC. And the response rate, you know how she kept asking, 괜찮지? Like, 잘했지? 있었지? Right? And the girls just stood there like,
yeah.
If you're going to create an AI, it should reply in human speed, at least, to simulate a real human conversation, right? The mother must be hurting from memories and the voice, but there's no way that this is immersive. There's no way that she's happy or... There, the little girl, 얼굴이 다르잖아. She's not even sad. Like, she's like, what is this? She's smiling. She's just like, this is unbelievable to her. If I was the mother or if I was the father, I'd have been pissed. I would have been angry that they dared sully my daughter's image and memory with this sham. That's how I would have felt.
There is something about it that's, one, not real, and two, have you ever thought about it this way? Like, if you lost somebody and you have an interaction with somebody who's dead, but it's their VR, and you interact with them, you are feeling happy. And that person that you say you care about a lot isn't there. There's no response. Like, they look happy in the VR world, but they're gone. And so, like, part of me, like, this is selfish for me to be like having a conversation with someone who is gone in a weird way.
Maybe not the word selfish. It's self-serving.
Right, self-serving.
It's self-serving. Of course, this is like a Band-Aid for a wound, right? But like, if they had shown me something that was plausible, right? Our technology isn't there. But for example, if they were able to like copy and map the girl's brain, for example, and then create an AI where she was basically her stuck on a loop or whatever. So, of course, Black Mirror has already explored this.
Black Mirror actually made a
potential.
person out of it.
Exactly. And as a parent, I think I would be pissed off. I wouldn't be reacting like the mother. The moment I went into this world and I saw what they made of my daughter, that is creepy. That is creepy. And there's no touch. There's no touch sensations.
No.
Nothing. The giving the gift of the little flower, you can't feel that. The hair, you can't feel that. The voice is a dead voice. It's an AI voice, right? They clip together, voice clips and stuff, right? She doesn't answer on time. She doesn't act. She probably doesn't act the way that the daughter used to act as a human being. I don't know. If I was the husband and I saw my wife going through that with that, they probably couldn't have because they probably signed a contract. But I would have been like, we need to stop this.
What do you think about what the producer and the VR guy who helped run this, what they said about it? One of the producers said, I wanted to get into the minds of people with VR. So it's not necessarily her, the daughter, but the documentary kind of followed the mind of the grieving mother. And they went on to say it was giving her a chance to talk to her daughter that she really needed to get over it. It's been 3 years, but she's been regretting the last day of her life where I think she was complaining or something. It wasn't a perfect ending to her life. She did die of blood cancer. And so it was to give her a chance and wanted to leave her with good memories. To me, my first reaction to that was, I think it's a form of rationalization on the side of the production team. Like, I don't think they had bad intent. I don't think they went in there like, let's make money. Now, maybe like the top dogs did, but like not the producer, not the director.
I actually disagree. I agree and disagree. I don't think they went in there to be like, let's make money. But I do know, or I do believe, they definitely sat in some meeting room and said, what can we do that's controversial that will get people to watch? And they picked tragedy porn.
Yeah. I remember watching this too. Like, I watched a couple of clips from this, not just the one we just saw. And I just remember thinking, like, this is something that a writer for a TV show would write. They were burning the shirt of the daughter that she wore when she was hurt. And they burn it because it was going to help them move on. And I get it from a psychological standpoint, but for me, it seemed more like a plot device that was put in by them to like
written in, yeah.
This will be part of the story, or they suggested to her like maybe this will be a good way for you to ... move on, whatever it may be. And looking through the comments now, I will say most of the comments, we are in the minority right now, so I'm a little afraid of the backlash. But most of the comments,
I don't think so. I think we are in the silent majority. You don't think so? You think we are so cold and so rational that we are in the minority? I feel like anybody that leaves a comment right now in support, they're the vocal minority.
I think one of the biggest problems I had is that no one is talking about it. I think if I found out later on that this is the right way to go through a grieving process and scientists came forward and said, yeah, you're wrong, Alex, I'd be like, oh, cool. But the fact that no one's even bringing up the discussion has bothered me a little bit.
Here's the thing. I don't think so. Because in every single movie that we've ever watched about this sort of thing, Western society tells us we need to move on. We need to accept it and move on. And the thing is, imagine this VR thing didn't exist, right? What do you think about this? Imagine the husband was like, you're really sad, so I'm going to do something for you. And he spent like half a year clipping together video clips of their daughter, voice clips and stuff like that, and then made like an interactive game for the wife, right? And then she'd say like, how are you? And then on the other side in his terminal, he would type, I'm fine, Mom.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
That would be creepy as No? Would it not?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that something like that would ever be seen as appropriate at least in our cultures. But they're now doing exactly the same thing, but even worse because it's not real footage of her.
No.
And it's exploitative because clearly NBC's not going to put something on there that doesn't benefit them. Why is everybody now suddenly okay with this?
I think we finally scrolled through and found one comment that is too far I want to see my grandmother and some of my friends again, but this is sick. And then the next comment after that, the response comment is, it may feel wrong for others, but for her, it was an experience that could actually help her live her reality. I wouldn't dare imagine what a mother who's lost a 7-year-old daughter is going through.
But we know what she's going through. Huge despair.
It's massive despair. I think the really simple example for me, because it's recent, I gave up coffee. I stopped drinking coffee. It hurts because it's a withdrawal process. It's a very simple thing, right? Mm-hmm. If I have a cup of coffee 5 weeks after I quit, I kind of got to start the process all over again. Or it sets me back in quitting coffee a little bit. And then the same could be said about losing a dog. Like when people have a dog that they lose, and is your reaction to replace the dog right away? Like what is your reaction? I think you have to go through a sort of like just a general loss. I don't know if I want to call it a strategy, but you've got to go through the stages of grief all the way through the end. I feel like this just kind of delays your processing of those stages. It makes it longer. Temporary relief. Like you would never give an alcoholic's been off alcohol for 3 years. You want to give him a glass of alcohol and say, well, he just wanted it because it'll make him feel better and it'll bring him that peace of mind that he had the last time he had alcohol, right?
Yeah, no. I don't know if that's an accurate equivalency, but I get what you mean. Like
it's not equivalency because talking about death that's what makes it so hard, and that's why I wish more people would talk about it instead of just seeing article after article without a discussion.
Here's the thing. I just don't think it's there. If I saw my mother get resurrected in a VR situation, it would probably affect my psyche quite a bit and may not want to give up seeing her image. Yeah, that's what I would assume.
Another comment we got up there.
But here's the thing. Like, this is so far off from realistic that I feel this must just be hammed up or it has to be damaging in some way. Like, what can you say about this mother's psychological condition if she's not instantly snapped out of reality by how fake this is? Like instantly, right? As a mother, I feel that I would be angry about this if they did this. In my opinion, if there was some way to connect me into this super hyper realistic world, and then the machine with my hormones and my brainwaves and chemicals and stuff made me truly believe that place was real when I'm connected to it, and then had a realistic daughter show up and then go through the I'm in heaven now,
right?
Like I'm having a great time. Thank you so much for bringing me into this world. I'm really sorry, like that I had to leave first, but like know that I'm happy here and you need to move on, and know that I'll always be watching over you.
Yeah.
And then that was also a one-time thing. Like legally, you were only allowed to do that once. So you can't just go back again and again to see her. And then when you disconnected, because of the way that the machine would screw with your brain, it made you truly believe it.
Oh.
Then, fine. But then there's also the problems of, well, what if that machine can now be abused and incept people, right?
Right.
Into making them feel and believe certain things. So there would have to be like strict regulations on this can only be used for grief, grief relief.
Which will never happen because it has to be a profit-driven industry to make VR because VR is really expensive.
Right. But I think a lot of people would pay. People pay how much money for funerals? And that's basically that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it would be a very profitable product and service, but there would have to be such strict regulations and it would have to be real. Like it would have to be like actually remedial.
Yeah. I guess I just don't see us ever getting to that point. The mother did write a blog post. Her blog that she was running is taken down now, probably to help with the grieving. I don't know what the process is. But the mother did write a post that said, I understand it's fake. I understand it's not real, but it gave me comfort, roughly translated from Korean. There was a lot more to it. So she did acknowledge that it wasn't real. It's just,
and I've watched enough Black Mirror to know where this is going. Like, I just feel maybe I'm wrong or maybe I'm being super like arrogant about this, but I feel that Western society has gone through enough philosophy that this should be ringing alarm bells in most people's think, especially in the West. North America and Europe. Maybe in Asia they see this as a different thing. Like their concepts of death and how they should be treating death might be different. But then again, in China, still people people in Korea still believe in Chinese medicine.
Yeah, I mean, well, in Korea though, they do have their own grieving process and rituals. Like if you are dead for 49 days, I believe it's something like that's when you move on. That's when you go into the next world or something like that. Once you've been, and so like there are processes, and that's why women, when their husband died, would be in that little house by themselves for a couple of years. It's part of the grieving process. That we all know that there is a process to get through it.
But this ain't it, Chief.
This is not it. I don't think this can be. I can't imagine if I had lost someone I cared about deeply. Have you ever, like, again, I'm just trying to give examples from my life that make sense, that I've gone through, that are close to that. You ever had a girlfriend that you really cared about and you broke up, and then you meet them, like, I don't know, a couple months later, a year later, and you meet them and it just kind of like brings the pain back up again?
Well, yeah. If you're not the one that decided to break up,
if you're the one that had your heart broken, like as the mother would be in this case, like her heart must have been destroyed and all that, and it brings up that pain again, then you don't move on. Like that happened to me before, and I realized when I did that, it pushed back the time that I could really move on and find someone else.
Yeah. Oh, here's another perfect example of what we would think is creepy.
Tell.
And this happens clearly, and we look down on it as a society. If your grieving mother goes to a fortune teller that says, pay me X amount of money, or even, fine, don't pay me, but I have this whole thing recorded and put on the internet.
Right.
I can communicate with your daughter. And then she like goes into a trance and then starts acting like the daughter.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like a big scam where she mouths certain things and then they play an audio file in the background or into her earphones. Be like, oh, like I have to be alone during this commune.
Right.
Right? But you can see me on video. But in this room, because I have these powers that I can reach into the afterlife, it's very dangerous for people that are not trained to be in the same room. So you have to be in another room. So she puts on earphones, and then she lip syncs to her daughter's audio files. People would not be okay with that, right?
Because that's a lie.
Because that's exploitative,
and
it's really, really bad. Like it's not the daughter.
It's not. It's definitely not.
I mean, I guess it's a bit different because the shaman is claiming that it's real, and they're not doing that. They're saying this is clearly AI. This is just to help. Okay, maybe that's a bad. I don't know. I just think this whole thing is just really,
it's
really not okay. Basically, it's like the modern version of being a medium, like a technological medium, which, although they're not claiming it's real, this is why the mother's reacting that way, right? Because she has a certain feeling, or she's hoping that she's actually talking to her daughter.
She's saying goodbye and the things she wanted to say on the day that her daughter died, but she never got to say.
But why couldn't she do that without this VR? Because like the little daughter said, she doesn't even look at her. Like her face is different, right?
Yeah.
Like how could there's no way that this mother didn't look at this AI thing and immediately think this is AI.
I don't see myself kind of going into that, and I don't want to say falling for it, but believing it's real. But everyone's comments online are like, oh, this is such a great opportunity. They all kind of believed this was her way to say goodbye. Other people.
Here's the thing. I think it's one of those things too about I think the majority of these comments is just people stroking their own egos and their own, oh, this is so nice kind of things. Like
another one here. I tried to hold my tears, but when the song played, I couldn't. Does anyone know the song name? When I heard the song, I actually felt the opposite. I was like, oh, what is this
manipulative crap?
It's a ploy to make the audience cry, and that's more important than the story. Like, honestly, if you want to tell the story, just
tell the story.
Just let it be there. Let her go through it, and don't give me this background stuff and the butterfly floating away to be symbolic.
That was bad.
That was a little.
I don't know why anybody would think that would be okay. That butterfly thing, yeah. I mean, representing her soul going to heaven, like,
yeah,
that's so manipulative. That's so obviously put in there. It's like, what?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't. There were just parts of it that I knew, like, this is a way to get the viewers to enjoy it more. And I think part of it is our fault as viewers too. When we watch something like this, we want to feel good that we feel bad for them.
Yeah.
For the mother, and we do feel bad, but we also want now to feel good that she is better, so we can feel good about having watched this as well, like, oh, this was a good thing. Let's not question whether or not this is good for humanity or not. Oh, it moved me, and therefore I am happy.
Like, what kind of people watched this and was like, this is a freaking great idea?
I would have thought this was a great idea if they had scientists there, psychologists there, talking about the pros and cons of this. Give me, like, that's a documentary for me. Like, that would have at least allowed me to have a question, like, is this right for humanity or not? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. And honestly, I hope that she's able to move on and this really worked. And I hope that I'm wrong. And I hope that my thoughts about this are wrong. Like,
I don't think we're wrong, though.
But then again, like, for her, we don't know her story. Maybe she's someone who's going to take this back home and say, I got to say my goodbye. And it's not real. But for her, she can move on. But if it were me, never. I would never go through this because...
And if it was... exactly.
I couldn't. Maybe some people... I mean, life is a story, right? You want to have... All of our stories want to be, like, poetic, and we want to be able to tell people how we lived our lives. And for her, she can poetically end this chapter of her life. And it's more important to have that story for her to comfort her than it is to have the reality of the fact that she couldn't comfort her now. But I hope that that's what it is. It's just she needed a story ending because in the end, our lives are nothing but stories anyway. And so this will help her feel good about her life, and it's a nicer story now.
Here's the thing, though. I think if she wanted to do that, she could have already done that in the 3 years that she's gone.
A lot of,
Like, do it to videos. Do it.
She seemed to have been doing it through a blog. Like, that's the way for her to move on.
Like, this would have not been okay if, like, the husband spliced together a bunch of pictures and videos and stuff and simulated this without VR. Like,
I mean...
And also, because we know how these things are done...
The documentaries, you mean?
Yeah, they were definitely, like, guided towards certain actions.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's no way that butterfly just showed up out of nowhere and she's, like, completely fine with it. They probably told her, oh, the butterfly is gonna show up, it's gonna represent your daughter's soul, and you can wave goodbye to it, or something like that. And how many retakes, like, how many angles were there? Like, they were sat down and asked interview questions, and...
They probably didn't have any retakes on this scene, but they had a bunch of angles, and they had a bunch of moments where they just focused on the girl who doesn't exist, because that allows you to cut into scene, and it allows you to, like...
How much editing happened?
Yeah, again, I think this was just a story to make the viewers feel good about watching it, and
not question.
If I viewed it as a fiction, if I viewed it as Black Mirror, if I viewed it as a story that was a fiction novel or a fiction TV show, I would be very satisfied and I would have cried in that moment. But it was real. It wasn't fiction.
Or at least it was presented to be real.
Or is presented to be real. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say the crying and that stuff is fake, and the fact that she wanted to see her daughter, that's not fake. But I know what you mean. When you put it together, that story that we see isn't kind of the story that it's not really the grieving process. No song comes up in the middle of the grieving process. No butterfly goes up in a grieving process. I give more credit to people who take out music in documentaries and say, this is just what it is.
Like, do you think the text, when she was talking, when the little girl was talking, do you think she was so delayed because they had to type that stuff up?
I don't know if it was typing. I don't know if it's actually her voice from previous video clips.
But how did she know to answer certain things? Were they like pre-looped lines?
I don't think she answered anything that was necessarily difficult to answer. Like, she didn't answer at one point. She was just saying, Oma na yepo?
Yeah, like, that's so weird. It's like, you were okay, right? You've been okay, right? Silence. You've been okay, right? You've been okay. And then,
Oma na yepo?
Am I pretty? Yeah, like...
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. Like, what happens if this mother acted extremely negatively? Like I would have as a father. Do you think that's the problem? Because this is all recorded, it's because there's contracts written where it's like, you have to act this way.
Well, I think at that point, if I'm the producer and I'm thinking about that, then if it goes badly, that's part of the story too. That's like, oh, he couldn't move on, or he didn't like his wife going through this. Like, you can make a really good documentary out of that reaction too. So
yeah. Well, this is why I feel a certain sense of this is just show business.
Yeah,
There's
show
no
business.
way that every single person in this family was okay with. Well, okay, obviously the brother wasn't.
The brother wasn't. The mother was. I presume the daughter and father must have been.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how has nobody? Well, okay, obviously there were people who left malicious, comments and stuff. Though there are people in this world that doubted the authenticity of this, but you never know. And then the problem is not enough people are doubting this.
Well, I mean,
At least from what we've seen.
I didn't care about the doubting as much. Because, there's a lot of real emotions that they captured and edited together and they spliced it. And it's obviously slightly different. It's a little bit theatrical. But to me, I still get bothered by the fact that the psychology behind it, the science behind it, it's not there. There's no studies on if this is going to be good or bad for her. I want to doubt, and I don't know if it's a good idea to do it, but I want to doubt that they went through the due process of figuring out, is this a good idea? Is this the right thing to do? And I found nothing. I did research online. I was looking through loads and loads of science articles, and I couldn't find anything that was like, this is a good idea, unless it was written by someone who was in the VR industry.
Okay, I think we've been talking about this a bit too long for the viewers.
Yeah.
But like my closing statements would be, technology isn't there yet. Mm-hmm. I think if I had seen the video and this was like a hyper-realistic rendering of this girl and the AI was top-notch and she could actually answer the mom's questions in real time, and then there was some sort of tactile solution to this. Mm. So maybe there are like sensor pads on the fingers. So when you try to touch this person's shoulder, it feels solid when you touch. Even though you can swipe through with air or whatever, you have a touch sensation on your fingertips. And if you touch hair, the fingertips will feel like strands of hair.
Right. That'd be insane.
Right? And then, okay. And like I said before, there needs to be restrictions, like you can only do this one time. Your brain needs to be fooled into thinking this can possibly be real. Mm-hmm. Whereas this is just, why don't you just log into the Elder Scrolls, all these like VR games where you can be in first person, you have all these NPCs that look kind of real.
Yeah.
And then make a model of your daughter that looks similar and then just interact that way. Like,
but that's interesting because I bet you even people who agreed with the documentary would be like, that's creepy.
Weird. Yeah.
So maybe it is.
Yeah, it would be like if you broke up with someone and you made them in VR world and you're having sex with that VR version of that person.
It's definitely creepy.
That's creepy. That's weird.
And people are trying to do that.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know. I guess this rubbed us the wrong way, the documentary. Hope for the best for the family that is grieving, moving on. It's been 3 years. If this gives them closure, that's great. If that's the way it is.
If it does.
If it does, I honestly hope that scientists actually do like a follow-up study on this, because this would be great information for us in the future. Like, hey, this worked or it didn't work. Let's never do this again. I hope they do a follow-up on it, and not producers. I mean, legit scientists who are going to come in here and tell us that this was a worthwhile experiment. But we'll see. Well, that's it. I guess the link is down below if you want to check it out. We'll have it down there for you if you want to see and judge for yourself.
And if you can't speak Korean, I think there is a big comment that has translated everything in the video.
Yeah, it's in English in the comment section for the one we saw. Yeah, just let us know what you think in the comment section below. Be respectful. Everyone has their own opinion, as always. Anything else you want to say before you head out there, Happy?
No, not really. I think you probably asked a pretty good guest to come on.
Yeah, probably.
Because I'm pretty jaded.
I think you even went further than me. I like it.
Yeah, on certain things. So that's just what you got to know about my personality.
There you go. You can find all his social media stuff down below as well.
No hate, please.
No, well.
I'm too fragile for that.
All right, Happy. Thanks for coming in, and I'll see you in a bit.
Bye.